Welcome into another episode of Cardinals Plus. I'm Corey Miller here with Ahmad Hicks. Ahmad, it's just a nice feeling to come home and have baseball on TV pretty much every night to watch.
I know, right? And it takes up a good 3.5 hours out of our schedule every single day.
Back in that routine, Cardinals baseball on TV every night. It's a good thing, and we got a lot to talk to.
We do have a lot to
talk about.
Yeah, we
So
do.
let's get to it with leading off our news segment of the news this last week in Cardinals Nation. All right, so to lead off, we have to talk about the guy that everybody's still talking about. Number five, Albert Pujols.
Okay.
And we're not just being nostalgic now. He's having a real impact on the games.
Right.
We're recording this on Wednesday, a night after he had 2 more hits, and we saw him turn on the Jets for a couple of long runs to score.
Going from home,
this dude, he's hitting 7 for 18 so far. He's 6 for 9 off lefties with 2 home runs against the lefties in the 2 games he started against them. It's bringing back old memories.
Match made in heaven, right?
Doesn't
it feel like old times? I want to talk to you guys who are all against Albert Pujols returning home, saying he didn't have anything left in the tank. He wasn't going to hit all these home runs. Corey Dickerson, it's a small sample size, 2 for 11 this season, 2 strikeouts, batting 182 right now. Who would you rather have, Corey Dickerson or Albert Pujols?
Well, here's the thing. I would definitely be playing Albert at DH every day now until he possibly shows that he definitely can't hack it against righties.
But he has not showed that.
I'd have him in there. I'd have him in there every game. I love the speed, though, against the Marlins.
It's the form. It's the form now. It's
I
not
have defended
the speed.
him. He has looked like that. Now, he's definitely slower than he used to be.
Absolutely.
But he's looked like that since he was younger.
It's all about
that's how he
technique
runs.
at this point.
He got the tongue out.
The machine.
That's
what we call him.
Hey, he's fast. I think he might be faster than me out there. It doesn't look that fast, but I think people would be surprised.
You think you can't beat Albert? He's like 40.
I know, but he's a professional athlete who's he's still in good shape.
They slow down too. They can't beat
I'd like to think I could, but I don't rate my running very high.
My money's on you, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Either way, he's on fire, and it's been a lot of fun.
I'm picking him for strength and home runs, though.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm picking him.
So he's got 2 so far. He's on a good pace.
Does he get 21?
Well, I'm trying to remember what we said first time. I think I said no.
I said he would come up 3 to 4 short.
Yeah,
I think he's on pace to come up 3 to 4 short.
Well, he's on pace to get it for sure now. If he homers every start he gets against the, well, he didn't hit one last night against the lefty. But if he's on a homer almost every time he gets a start, he's going to get there.
I'm enjoying this ride, I'll tell you that.
It has been a lot of fun. Other than Albert, the pitching has stabilized a bit. That's good for the Cardinals. You got Waino out there doing his thing.
Yeah.
He looked good against the Marlins. He had a rough one in Milwaukee, but Wainwright's 2-1 with a 2.81 ERA. Steven Matz looked a lot better. I think that kind of calmed some folks down because after that first one, I think people were, oh, we got this guy, and this is supposed to be the guy that stabilizes the rotation.
Right. I still think it's that bottom half of the rotation that concerns you the most if you're a Cardinals fan right now, because I think we all know Jack Flaherty, all right, he'll be a guy, just plug and go. Adam Wainwright, plug and go. Miles Michaelis. So it's that Steven Matz that you were just talking about, and Dakota Hudson.
Yeah.
He struggled a little bit.
Hudson has struggled.
7 innings pitched, 6 earned runs, 7 runs total. That's not really good right now, but we also have to take into account he's coming off a major injury.
Yep.
So it's going to take some time. He's not just going to be out there and be the old Dakota.
And thankfully, they've had Jordan Hicks to piggyback off him twice. Jordan Hicks is going to get a start against the Marlins here, so that'll be exciting to see what he brings to rotation. You said Michaelis. He has turned it around. We're recording this during a game that he's looking pretty good in so far, and he had a 2.61 ERA coming in. So.
I think the biggest thing, if the Cardinals can do what they hoped to do last year, was have their starters go 6 innings plus, I think this team has a chance to win every single ball game if their pitchers can go 6 innings plus. I think if they don't, the starting pitchers that is, then I think we're going to be falling back into that same routine.
Well, you can't overwork the bullpen, which has been great. If you go 6 innings and hand it off to guys like Helsley, Gallegos, if Hicks isn't in the rotation, Cabrera, I've got a stat here I saw from a good account on Twitter, Cardinals Stats and Facts. Gallegos, Hicks, Helsley, and Whitley have been just absolutely dominant. The bullpen has the 3rd lowest ERA in the majors after the Rockies and the Yankees.
That's good stuff.
That's not bad.
Got to keep it there, though.
And you got to keep them fresh. I think that's a big thing, too. You want your starters going at least 5 innings. When Adam Wainwright's out there, you know he's going to go 5 innings.
Hopefully we get Jack back, because you know once he gets in his routine, he's going 6 innings every game.
Hopefully if he can stay healthy. That's the
very,
plan.
very true.
I'll go from pitching to catching. Andrew Kisner been getting his shot lately. Yadi's easing his way in after a short spring training. The knee's a little sore. He's a lot older now. And Kisner's making the most of it. I've been excited to see him.
This is a guy who's been waiting on his shot for quite some time now. He's finally getting it, and he's seizing the moment. This guy has been waiting behind Yadi for quite some time and probably had to deal with the whole thought of, will I be traded again, you know, because Yadi may not go anywhere. So this is a guy who's been patiently waiting. He's been doing everything asked of him behind the scenes, and now he's just stepping into the limelight, and he is seizing the moment. We love to see it.
The plan apparently was always to work him in more this year, but I think so far we've seen more of him than I thought we were going to see. So, read the hot hand. I mean,
we love Yadi. We know that man is the GOAT. We know he can do a lot of things that most catchers can't do, but I think when you're approaching the age of 40, taking a little bit of time off before spring training, missing a couple of weeks of spring training, and then not getting as many ABs during a season, it's going to take a while for Yadi to get ramped back up. I don't think we'll ever see the Yadi that we saw 3 to 4 years ago. I think this is a guy who we can expect to throw some people out in big games, but 10 or less home runs this year.
If Andrew Kisner's going to hit 333 with a home run, 5 RBIs every 15 at-bats like he did to start the year,
he needs more.
Pretty good. I don't think anybody will have too much of a problem working him in there.
The Cardinals have a good problem on their hands, needless to say.
So Kisner's been hot. Let's talk about some other guys that have been hot and cold to start the year.
Okay.
Nolan Arenado's looking like an MVP candidate. Man. I mean, it's the last couple games haven't been quite as good, I guess. But he's hitting everything hard. I don't know if you were watching the game in Milwaukee. He hit they were already destroying the Brewers, and he hit like the lowest home run I've ever seen. Pretty sure it was 34 feet in the air, and it was 109 miles per hour. Just a rocket, bounces off the top of the fence and goes over. He's locked in.
Isn't he a treat to watch?
Oh, my God. It's so much
that
fun.
guy.
Offense and defense.
He just takes his crap so seriously. I think that's the one thing when I was down in Jupiter. Every single day he was locked in. He was one of the first guys to the batting cages. He was one of the last guys out of the batting cages. And whenever he stepped off the practice field, drenched in sweat. I mean, that is a guy who took his craft seriously. And he's setting an example for a lot of up-and-coming Cardinals. I talked to Jordan Walker about him and how he sets that precedent like, hey, this is the standard, the Gold Glove standard over there on the hot corner. And he lets it be known like, all these plays that I make look easy is because I practice them when no one's watching. And I think that sets a really good example for a lot of Cardinals to come.
That's a good point. Another guy off to a hot start is Tommy Edman, proving that spring training doesn't really mean that much.
What slump?
There's a spring training slump, so it doesn't count. Edman's off to a great start. He hit leadoff because a guy who's we're going to talk about in our cold section here got a night off on the night we're recording this in Miami. But Edman, infield singles, showing off his speed. It's a little bit of power so far. He's got a couple bombs and a couple in the gap to go for doubles and a triple that drove in Albert in Miami. That was a lot of fun. So
3 home runs, too, second on the team in home runs. And you did not expect that from a guy like Tommy Edman. But I think this is a guy who is – I won't say he's the dark horse in this Cardinals lineup, but I feel like if Tommy –
you forget about him.
Yeah, you do forget about him because there are a lot of big names. But I feel like if this guy can get on base and hit consistently with that speed plus his defensive skills, man, the Cardinals got to steal.
He's just kind of hidden down there in the 9 spot, kind of acting as a second leadoff guy. And I bet he's probably getting a lot of fastballs and thinking, oh, here's the number 9 guy. We'll just throw something over, get him out. But it's Tommy Edman. It's not that easy.
And it's actually not a bad spot for him to be in, that 9 spot, because then you think about all the guys that are coming up behind him with his speed.
The DH I used to be a real hardcore National League guy. I mean, it's a lot better for the team. That's for darn sure.
I'm a National League fan. I love the old unwritten rules of baseball. But I much rather see Albert Pujols getting 3 to 4 at-bats than Adam Wainwright getting 2, and then another pitcher, and then one pinch hitter only getting 1.
You're right. I look back and think, man, I should have been on board a lot sooner.
Absolutely.
We got to talk about some cold guys now, though. Okay. My MVP pick is off to a rough start.
Who's
Mr.
that?
Paul Goldschmidt has had a slow start. Again, proving that spring training doesn't mean anything because he hit 500 in spring training.
He did.
And he's hitting 176 coming into Wednesday's game. Hasn't hit a home run yet. Not great. He's a notoriously slow starter, at least that's what I've seen with the Cardinals, at least. And he heats up once it starts to heat up outside. But I really thought he was going to get off to a better start.
Well, he kind of did this last year. I don't think this is anything that we should pay any mind to because at the end of the year, he's probably going to be right around the 30 home run mark, 100 RBIs.
Yeah,
so
I don't think anybody's worried.
Nothing to worry about. And when it's clutch time and when we need to hit, like he showed up in the playoffs, well, aside from that Dodgers game, he'll be there.
Yep. I don't think anybody's too worried about Goldie. Dylan Carlson, I am a little worried about. He still takes good at-bats.
Really good at-bats.
And he takes a lot of pitches and works them deep. The results just aren't there right now. He's hitting .083 as a right-handed hitter and 158 overall. Not great, especially from your guy at the top of the lineup. So he got a day off on Wednesday. Hopefully that maybe resets some things, even if they have to. And you're comfortable with Tommy Edman hitting leadoff, and you just want to flip-flop those guys, have Carlson hit ninth, Edman hit leadoff, or maybe play around a little bit more. If that keeps up, I think that's what you're going to have to do.
I think he just needs to see a couple barrels hit the ball dead on and get some success and get a couple hits in a game. And I think once he sees the ball drop down in the outfield or clear that fence a couple of times, I think it's just going to be, like a rocket taking off, from there.
I think everybody is not too worried about Dylan Carlson.
He has a lot of expectations around him.
A usual young guy like him, you maybe would be a little more concerned, but Carlson has proven he already kind of looks like a veteran out
he'll
there.
Be all
right.
So
nobody's jumping off the cliff there.
No.
Paul DeJong is a really interesting case because if you look online, Paul DeJong I think has like the third or fourth most WAR of any Cardinals so far this year. I guess a lot of that is defensively because he only has 5 hits, but 3 of them are for extra bases. He hasn't. I mean the numbers. Like the average and everything doesn't look great.
No.
But if you watch his at-bats, it's not awful.
No.
But you just want more from him.
I think this is a guy who's very aware of who's breathing down his neck in Edmundo Sosa. And he understands that he has to be better. Now, has he been better at the plate? Subjective. We can say some days he looks good, some days he doesn't look good. But I think as a whole, he's doing a little bit better, and I think he's trying to stay within the moment and not be too hard on himself because he talked about that down in spring training, how he overthought a lot.
Yeah.
And, he was like, he's always consistently in his head. He's trying to keep it very simple at the plate this year. So I think we want to give him a little bit of a bigger sample size before we start hitting that panic button just yet. I think give him to the middle of summer. If he's showing signs that he's not improving, he's the same Paul DeJong as he's been the past couple of years, then that's when you say, look, Edmundo, it's your job to take now.
Well, it's shown me so far that's what the Cardinals think because they haven't been working in Sosa very much at all. Even when we came into spring training thinking, well, there might be more of a battle here. They're letting DeJong have some slack.
That mental psyche, you cannot get in a baseball player's head. They're superstitious about everything, so you don't want to let that start early.
All right, let's look ahead a little bit to the rest of April. Lots of games against bad teams. And look back a little bit, forward and backwards. Cards were 58-36 last year against below 500 teams. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. They need to do that again, and they'll be playing a lot of them. This month, they got the Pirates, who we already saw. The Royals, we only saw one game, and it got rained out, and the other one got rained out. The Marlins, the Reds, and the Diamondbacks. Now, some of those, the Royals and Marlins could probably make a little bit of noise, but those other teams are not good.
No, they're not.
And the Cardinals need to clean up against those teams because the Dodgers, the Giants, the Braves, the Phillies, the Mets, there's a lot of teams not at the top, but jockeying at the top. So they got to make hay against these bad teams.
We talk about this every year, behind the scenes and off the camera, but we talk about how these series against bad teams like the Pittsburgh Pirates and these other teams that you mentioned down here, the Royals, the Marlins, the Diamondbacks, how it's those games against those teams that they let slip away in the summertime, where they had a nine-run lead or something like that, give up a ninth-inning bomb to a team, and then we're like, look, we're in the wild card spot by 2 games, or we miss out on the Central by 4 games. If you just win those games, they have to beat up on those teams. This record last year, what did you say, 58 and 36? It has to be better than that. It has to be better. If you're talking about a team that wants to win a World Series, you got to beat up on the bad teams.
A lot of games against those division rivals in Pittsburgh and Cincinnati this year, and they should take most of them.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going down on the farm, and we've talked about this guy a lot.
Because we should be talking
Everybody
about him.
knows about him already.
You should.
But he's so hot that we got to talk about him again. Nolan Gorman at Memphis is on an absolute tear. You've probably seen the videos online of just how hard he's hitting these balls over the fence. Let's go some stats. He's hitting .333 this year. He's got a 400 on-base percentage, a 1,200 OPS.
Is that good?
That's pretty good.
Okay.
45 at-bats, 7 home runs. All of them have been solo home runs, which is pretty interesting. Unless I read that wrong, he has 7 home runs and 7 RBIs, which is kind of funny.
That's crazy.
But he hit those 7 home runs in a span of 7 games.
And some of them are going to opposite fields, showing off that strength.
I don't know if his most recent one, either last night or 2 nights ago, I quote tweeted it. Oh my God. Like, it was just so easy power. It almost went out of the stadium, it looked like.
It's almost as if Tommy Edman knew who's coming up behind him, and he's like, look, I got to do what I got to do this year, right?
Well,
right?
we'll get to that here. We'll get to that here. Everybody's hyped up. Now, I don't think anybody's complaining about the Cardinals offense too much because it has overall been pretty good, and you're not looking to make a whole lot of substitutions, and the team's winning. But the question is there. No. This guy has been hyped up for a long time.
He's not ready.
He's not ready. I thought you were going to take the other side.
I think offensively he is ready, but when you talk Cardinals baseball, you talk defense and you talk pitching, and you're talking about replacing him, well, throwing Gorman in the mix for a Gold Glover and Tommy Edman. Although it was his first one, that's a big spot to fill. And I do not think Ali Marmol is going to throw a kid in there who has never played in the majors and expect him to live up to the Cardinals' expectations defensively. Offensively, I feel like he can swing the bat with the rest of them, but come October, defense matters.
The only way we see Nolan Gorman in any significant capacity this season is if bad things happen. Yeah. If Nolan Arenado gets hurt or if Tommy Edman gets hurt, then I think they say, okay, we'll bring this kid up and give him a full shot. But yeah, right now, it still doesn't make any sense unless Tommy Edman really is as amazing as we've seen and can play shortstop.
Thinking like he's
then there might be something there. If Paul DeJong really struggles again, if Edmundo Sosa is not living up to what they want, and they think they can move Edman to shortstop, bring Gorman up and play second base, you might have something there. And that could change your whole lineup, especially because Gorman's a lefty, and you put him somewhere in the middle there, 5 or 6. Then it kind of staggers you with all your righties you have. So there's an interesting debate to be had at some point.
I do think so, but how successful do you think this guy will be in his first year in the majors? Coming in and play, he's not hitting 15 to 20 home runs this year, so you're probably better with the DeJong or Tommy.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't. I wouldn't jump ship or jump the gun here too early.
But he's a good player.
Stay the course. But he's getting a lot of people excited right now. Next year, I think. They have to make a spot for him next year.
Him and Juan Yepez both.
He's definitely going to be ready next year. You can't really rationalize keeping him down in the minors a whole extra year, even if it's just at the DH position. Albert says, I don't know if he plays like this, who knows? But Albert says this is his last year. Corey Dickerson's only on a 1-year deal. I think I'd definitely take my chances with Nolan Gorman at DH instead of Corey Dickerson next year if I had to.
He'll be in the majors next year.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So a lot of good stuff to look forward to if you're a Cardinals fan, not only this year, but for years to come. That'll wrap it up for this edition of the Cardinals Plus show. For Corey Miller, I'm Ahmad Hicks. We'll see you all after the Cardinals wrap up their road trip and come back home to take on the Mets next week. Have a good one.